So thoughts create images. And if we can create a better image of ourselves, like say, have an image of being successful, have an image of talking in front of a crowd of people and them cheering you on, and, you know, like whatever fear we have, we can change that image and create a new picture. And that picture creates an emotion. Either we're cowering down behind the podium and everybody's laughing and throwing food at us, or we're standing strong and everybody's cheering us on. We are in control of that picture in our mind.
Many people want to navigate life with peace and joy, but struggle to connect to their intuition. They find themselves overwhelmed, burned out, and frustrated. My name is Francesca Phillips, and I'm obsessed with spirituality and psychology and how the two can intersect to help you live a successful and intuitive life. I believe each of us can accomplish amazing things through balance and healthy habits instead of burnout. Consider this your go-to resource for where spiritual wellness and mindful productivity meets practical wisdom. If you're craving positivity and want to know how to find the answers within instead of searching endlessly without, then you're in the right place. Get ready to feel supported and inspired. This is the Good Space Podcast. You're listening to the Good Space Podcast, episode number 32 with Michael Coles. Before we dive in, I want to give you my warm appreciation to our reviewer of the week, Chocolate NK60. And they say, this is the perfect podcast right now for everyone living through uncertain times. Francesca guides us through finding the good space in our lives. Stop, listen, and reduce stress. Thank you. Chocolate NK60, thank you for your kind words and aligning so well with the mission of the Good Space, to stop, listen, and reduce stress. I'm so happy you're part of the Good Space community, and I'm sending a lot of gratitude and joy your way. If you want to be highlighted in an upcoming episode and help further the mission of the Good Space, make sure to subscribe and give us a review on Apple Podcasts, so I can then highlight your review in an upcoming episode. It only takes a minute. You can pause the episode and come right back. Make sure to screenshot this episode on your phone and tag us on your Instagram story at @FindYourGoodSpace, #TheGoodSpace, to let me know that you're joining in today, as you know that I love to share those screenshots on our stories too. Today, we're going to talk about why you're capable of healing from within and how to start now with an expert in holistic health. My guest today is on a mission to teach the world that we are all capable of intrinsic healing and transformation into the version of ourselves we envision. He overcame, healed, and transformed from having Tourette syndrome, severe asthma, ADHD, obesity, and an eating addiction. He is a U.S. Marine, a holistic health practitioner, and health strategy coach. He helps business professionals and entrepreneurs create a foundation of health using sustainable health strategies. Welcome to the Good Space Podcast, Michael Coles.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, we're so happy you're here. So why don't we just kick it off with your story? Can you tell us your story and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. It's a long story, so I'll try and make it concise as possible. But it all started when I was around age 5. I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome and severe asthma. And if you don't know what Tourette syndrome is, it is a neurological disorder that involves physical tics and then verbal tics. I had a really bad speech impediment where I had a terrible stutter where I couldn't say certain letters and certain numbers, to a point where I had to beat my chest to actually get the words out. But a lot of that also had to do with like my self-esteem and feeling healthy and, you know, like not feeling broken, because I took on that identity as I'm broken and I'm not normal, because I'm, 7 or 8 years old in a psychotherapist's office, and they're telling my mom, okay, let's give him little tokens to reward him when he's good, to like go buy toys. And, you know, how come he's so active? How come he's, like running around? And then at age, I think like 11 or 12, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And back in the day, back in like the 80s, 90s, they didn't really know what Tourette syndrome and ADHD was. And even today, a syndrome is something that's like undiagnosed, unproven. So it was just, let's make him a guinea pig to give him medication. Here's some Ritalin. Here's some, uppers. Here's some downers. Oh no, he's up and his heart's palpitating. Let's give him a sedative. And it's like they're mixing all these, all these things together. And I I just like really had a hard time fitting in with kids. I got teased, I couldn't sit still in class, to the point where I remember in 7th grade, I would go to the nurse, take my medicine, and then it would knock me out. So like every other class, I would be asleep, dead asleep. And the teacher thinks, oh, well, he must be, like he must have an issue with learning. So let's put him in the trailer with the kids with Down syndrome. And I got put in like LD class. And in that class, we're just like drawing all day. We're doing puzzles, like we're barely learning. And even the teacher was like, why are you here? Why do you belong here? I mean, you don't belong here. And that really hurt my self-esteem. And I took on this identity of being broken and being quote unquote not normal. So fast forward to high school, I kind of regulate my medication, but I'm kind of zooted all the time because it's like, your adrenals are pumping because I was on, Ritalin all the time, Adderall, and doing okay in school, but still seeing the contrast of other people that are healthy, that are having girlfriends, that are, socializing. And I was just very uncomfortable in my own skin. Couldn't walk upstairs without, my chest wanting to fall apart. And I pretty much from like middle school to high school turned inward and sat inside and watched TV and ate foods and snacks because that was the comfort for me to like help me feel connected to myself because other people didn't understand me, and I was teased. So that caused me to become obese and have an addiction to eating to the point where those neuroexcitants that they put in chemicals, all the MSG and all that stuff, my brain needed that to the point where I was sucking on chicken bouillons like they were Tic Tacs. I was eating the cheese powder out of the macaroni and cheese. I mean, it was just like whatever I could do to like get that fixed because I felt so irritable in my body, all the medications, plus the dyes from the Mountain Dew and all that stuff. So it was just like my parents didn't know any better, like they worked a lot and my mom wanted to give me something that I could eat at home because I would walk home from school and I couldn't cook, in like middle school. So it was like a bunch of Hot Pockets and like processed food. And then I just kind of got older into high school, got taller, but still had that mindset and that obese person inside of me. And around 11th grade, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I said, I'm going to allow myself to be open enough for my higher self to like give me awareness. So like I've always been very, very intuitive, but it's always been suppressed as a kid. It's like, you're too creative, just color inside the box, do what you're told. So I just thought that being an intuitive person was not, feasible. So, but I said, no, I'm going to allow myself to talk to me because it's been talking to me for so long, but I've been ignoring it. I've been pushing it away and I've been scared to actually listen to it. So I listened to it. I was receptive and it told me to go to the bulletin board in the high school. In the hallway, I walked past that every day, never looked at it. This time I looked at it, right in front of me was the sign-up sheet for track and field. And I'm like, oh, heck no, track and field? Like, what fat kid wants to run? But
who wants to, I'm one of those people that I'm like, who wants to run, period. I mean, I played soccer in high school, but I was a sprinter. For me, it's like like doing it for longer than I need to. No, thank you.
Yeah. And like my body could barely walk up a flight of stairs without wanting to die. So, but I was like, I'm going to submit to it. I'm going to listen. And it said, sign your name. So I signed my name. I went out there and the coach was like, all right, everybody gather around. Here's the game plan. We're going to run 2 miles. Then we're going to break out into groups and figure out what sport you're going to do. And then we're going to run 2 miles at the end. All right, break. And I'm like, oh, crap. Hey, coach, can I pull you aside? Yeah, I'm not here to be your MVP. I don't even know what I want to do, but I just know that I want to get healthy and get fit. Because, back then I thought that the whole Jane Fonda look, the whole exercise thing was like the way to be healthy. Like you just exercise, you're healthy and fit until you're 90. So that was my, go-to of like, can you help me be fit and get healthier? And he said, okay, I'll help you. And it took the entire practice for me to, walk and crawl these 2 miles. And the team was sitting there with their backpacks and their Walkmans on, and they're like, okay, we're going to cheer you on. We're going to be here for you. And that just motivated me to say, okay, somebody cares about me and about my growth. And from then on, I just decided I'm going to do whatever it takes to be like my other peers that are healthy and vibrant and can get good grades in class and, everything that I wanted. So I just kept listening to my intuition. I took aligned action, and I listened to my coach, and really got into cooking at home, and then got a job in a restaurant, doing culinary, being a sous chef and all this stuff. So like I really learned how to cook. And then once I kind of learned, okay, here's foods that make me feel like crap and lethargic and slump, and then here's foods that make me feel lively and vibrant, I started to transition and say, how can I take these healthy foods and make them tasty? And then that started my kind of like obsession with food. And then once I started to become healthier, I had less brain fog. I had my asthma started to go away. Because my asthma was at a point where I had a machine by my bed, and I would wake up, couldn't breathe, and had to put the machine on in panic. And my parents were there trying to calm me down, and it's just like, it was really bad. But the doctors just thought, okay, he needs medication. He needs an inhaler. It's just medication. But once I started to eat healthier, my body started to shift, and my body started to change. The more cardiovascular health I did, my lungs started to heal and taking more oxygen and all this. And I'm like, I became so curious of like, I'm changing my body. I'm healing. What can I do to actually figure out the mechanism of like how this happens? So I actually quit my medicines cold turkey, which I don't recommend, but I was just tired of feeling, like worms crawling in me all the time. It just felt chemical in me. And like, I wanted to know that I'm in control of my health and that I can change. It's going to be hard, but I wanted to do it on my own. And I was determined, just seeing the contrast of my peers, seeing the contrast of my family, eating pig's feet and chitlins and all this nasty stuff. And, going to funerals of people that died in the 50s and seeing, kids my age with like missing teeth and just looking so much older than they should. I just had that, that mirror image of like, this is who I'm going to be if I continue to live the way I'm living. And then I, kind of had this motivation, left high school, went straight to college, and then didn't have the discipline that I needed, because from a little kid, you're told when to get up, when to go to sleep, when to eat. A bell rings, and you're conditioned for this factory life. And then you like go to college, and they're like, well, you need to come to class at this time, but nobody's going to tell you. You have homework, but nobody's going to make you do it. And I kind of just like, at first was very diligent, but then didn't have the discipline or leadership to do that. So I fell into the wrong crowd. I went into a pretty bad pit, dropped out of school, and lived in a house of 5 guys, and worked at Papa John's and ate pizza all the time. And just, it was a house full of drugs and partying all the time. And I just got to a place where I was really, I didn't know where to go from where I was. Like, I was still lost. I still had Tourette's and all this stuff. It was, I guess, more under control, but I still felt outside of the line of normal. So, and these people accepted me, and, like, they were all doing drugs too. So it was just like everybody's family and accepted. But then it came to a point where I would go home, and my parents know that I love food. So they would make like steaks and potatoes and all that stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not hungry. I'm going to go upstairs and play computer games. And after a while, my dad was like, no, there's something wrong here. Like he's getting thinner and he's not eating. So he took me to a restaurant and sat me down and was like, hey, I know that you're on a drug or something, tell me what's going on, how many drugs are you doing? And I like just broke down and he said, I want to help you. I don't want to tell your mother because it would kill her. And that's what really hurt me, of embarrassing my mother and my family. So at that point I was like, you know what, I'm going to step up. I'm going to change. I've done it before. I can do it again. I need direction. So I said, I'm going to go to the Marine Corps, and they're going to get me, in shape, get my mindset right. And then I'm going to use my GI Bill to go back to college and actually make something of myself and really tell people that their body can heal as well. They just have to find the right environment within and without to make that happen, to like cultivate this. And we're not broken. And I want to find a way to help people do that. So I went into like pre-med physical therapy, but then realized, watching the patients and watching the practitioners, they get a doctor's note for a knee problem. They just look at the knee, but what about the rest of the body? What about the shoulder? What about, their stress level? What are they doing? It's just like, it was so isolated that I'm like, there's got to be something out there that looks at the entire whole body. So I said, you know what, I'm going to break out and I'm going to open up my own practice and do it my way. So I moved up to Charlottesville. I was living down in Virginia Beach area. I got out of the military and I decided I'm going to move up and I'm going to open up my own practice. Had no idea what I was doing. Googled everything, used my skills of computer skills to like create my own website and all this stuff. And I just kind of winged it. And I just looked for answers, and I networked and I talked to people, and I'm like, I'm going to find this divine alignment to make this happen. And it worked out, and it happened, and it was stressful. And then I ended up meeting someone that worked with this renowned doctor that worked in cancer research. And then he figured out how cancer actually comes about. So it's kind of like, why are we fighting cancer? Why don't we work to like strengthen the body to prevent cancer? So then he started his own practice, his own thing, and brought in Eastern medicine, acupuncture, Chinese medicine, and Ayurvedic stuff. And this lady did Egoscue therapy, which is like a postural alignment therapy. And she was like, the doctor's looking for somebody to come join our practice. And I think you're like the best fit for it to like come interview. And I interviewed, and just like, they just started speaking my language of looking at the whole person, whole health, just like mindset. And I was just like, I'm in. So I kind of jumped in and then transitioned from my like sports rehab to men's health to, working with sound wave technology. That's like this non-invasive technology to help heal and regenerate, and just neurofeedback therapy and biofeedback and like all these new things, plus energy work and all this stuff. And it just really worked. And we were healing people. We're really taking the time to integrate themselves as being a person and not just a number, not just a patient. And in my, I guess, field of like seeing these people and getting them to rehab, I found that these people are professionals. They have high careers, but it's always go, 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 grind, 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 push, push. And they're not taking care of their health. They're not sleeping. They're not eating right. They're just focused on success. But when you hear the word success, you never think about health. So I wanted to bring health and success together and realize that if we can create this foundation of of health, within our body, and like cultivate the earth, same as like we cultivate the ground to grow a garden, and we build a foundation of a home to actually build stories upon that. So it's structurally sound, and that we can really resonate at an energy and a frequency to attract what we want in life, and to be this glowing, energetic person that people want to hear, people want to be around you and listen to you. And we don't talk about energies because it's all woo woo. So it's like, I just really got in depth in the mechanics of it. Like, how can we find the root cause of illness, but also how can we advance ourselves to be the best version of ourselves? And I'm still on that journey in the mind and self-love and self-development and all this stuff. And like each day is a new day. There's like always new stuff to learn and new perspectives. And it's just, I became obsessed with figuring out how the body works, how we can, live our life every day to promote that healing and transformation. So that's what I help people do now. It's like bring that business mindset and the health mindset together to be successful in all realms.
Wow. That was just amazing. And I love hearing your story. And I want to just unpack for a second why I think what you shared is amazing, because there were so many different truths and principles that I heard you mentioning. And it's amazing that is I truly believe that's a spiritual gift you have, is that connection to your intuition, because most people, when they're at the age that you are, they're not as connected or willing to listen to, I guess, that intuition. And so it was really powerful that, first of all, you knew that your intuition was saying something different than what you were doing. And the fact that you, unfortunately had to get to, kind of a breaking point to finally be like, okay, I got to listen to it, but you did. And then you got yourself in an environment that supported that new identity. I know you mentioned identity a few times, that you had this vision of being someone who was overweight and sick and all of these things. But then when you listen to that intuition and it led you to that bulletin board, you're like, wait a second, I want an identity of health and like vibrancy. And like, obviously at that time, you probably didn't process it as clearly as you can now looking back. But I think it's amazing that you had the coach, you had other kids who were running and being healthy, and you saw yourself literally change because of that support system. And then the fact that you had the contrast where when you were into drugs and obviously like eating all the pizza and doing all those things, you saw yourself turning into someone you didn't want to. And then because you had someone who cared, like your dad, who said, listen, I see something going on. How can I help you? And then he reminded you of your mother, and that raised the necessity, which is something I always talk about with high performance, is you have to have a reason. You have to have a necessity to keep showing up or to change something in your life. And you found it in your mother. And so for someone listening, that could be your child, that could be a dream of yours. It could be something that anchors you into a reason to actually make that change. And I think that's so powerful and incredible that you went through that process and you trusted yourself. And then the fact that you didn't know your answers right away, right? Like you went to school, you knew it resonated with you, the idea of health, and you went through your own journey and you wanted to, share that with other people. And the fact that you're like, okay, I'm going to go do this kind of schooling. And then when you found out it didn't resonate, you're like, well, what does resonate? And I always try to teach people who listen to the podcast or, are on our emails, just the idea that be curious, let yourself just know the next best step. And then as you try things out, you'll know ultimately what it is you want to do, because had you not been curious to begin with, you wouldn't have found out the actual thing that you're doing now. And like, this will be on YouTube, but if people are listening to this audio, like your passion, the way you're moving, the way you're leaning into what you're doing, you can just tell it's something that resonates so deeply with you. And that's powerful. So, okay. So love everything you shared. And how can other people receive or achieve a similar transformation? Because someone listening right now might be thinking, well, that sounds incredible, but I'm not that strong, or what I have is not curable. How would you inspire or walk someone through, you can do this as well?
There's a series of steps that happen within the body, from the mind to taking action. And the first step I would say is change your self-talk. Like, really understand, what are you saying to yourself internally and out loud. Out loud, it's like, I think 40 to 70 times more likely that it's going to happen negatively saying it out loud. So are you having good self-talk to yourself, positive thoughts about empowerment, about, you can do this and so forth. So that's one thing that we accumulate these, I guess, ideas from childhood, from the world. And if we don't get them under control, then they can kind of, run amok. One thing that really helped me was meditation, to really go within and listen to those thoughts, not judge them, not, get upset with them, but try and separate myself from my thoughts. And I try and envision, if you notice on like CNN, there's like the little thing at the bottom, like the NASDAQ. I try and see the thoughts kind of come across in my mind like that. So I'm not
like a ticker tape.
Yeah, ticker tape. There you go.
Yeah.
So I try and see that and say, okay, this thought is good. Let's archive it. This thought is bad. Let's throw it away. And just really try and understand, okay, this is a recurring thought. Why am I having this thought? Am I willing to feel the pain of this so that it can release? Because, for the longest time, I held down stuff. And I'm like, this is what men do. You just suck it in, you suck it up, but it just festers and it boils and it builds. And now doing the EMDR, I'm actually letting myself feel the emotion, feel where it is in my body, and it releases and it goes away. And it's just like, I feel so much lighter from carrying this weight for so long, that it's like, the more I'm in tune with my feelings and those thoughts, then the easier it is to let them go, and let the ego and nervous system say, it's okay to let it go. It helped me at a point in my life, but right now it's not helping me, so I have to let it go. So it's just allowing ourselves to do that. So the mindset, and then creating.
Is that EMDR? Sorry, I just want to stop you 1 second. So EMDR, is that the process you're talking about, where you feel it and then let it go, or what does that look like?
That is one process that I do, and it's like the rapid eye movement. So I'll, like, when I'm with my practitioner, she'll kind of move her hand, but then she says, on my own, I can just kind of tap on my arm or my leg, and it's just having that sensory input of both sides of the brain going back and forth and really communicating. And when we have the thought, it makes an image in our head, and then that image creates an emotion, and then we sit with that emotion and let that emotion go, because our brain doesn't realize that happened in the past. It thinks it's happening right now. So can we really sit with that and like control, I guess not really control, but just be with the emotion, and then it goes away. I don't really know how it works, but it works, and it's great. And
so it's almost like because you sit with it and don't resist or force it or distract yourself, that fosters that healing, essentially.
Correct. It's like honoring the body's protection system, because our body tries to archive stuff and shut it away, because if we had all these crazy thoughts, we'd be, in a insane ward with, like, shackled and bouncing around because we're going crazy. So the body is great at adapting and keeping us, safe. So once we can really bring that up and say, I honor you for doing this, or having me feel this way, but now in my life it's not working. I want you to leave. And it's kind of like chauffeuring them out the door.
Yeah, it's almost like a ritual. Like, it's kind of a ritual of, that a process that you do to signal, okay, we're releasing this. And that's really cool. I like that. So you were saying, okay, so mental, and then I think you were about to go on to another foundation, right?
So thoughts create images. And if we can create a better image of ourselves, Like say, have an image of being successful, have an image of talking in front of a crowd of people and then cheering you on, and like whatever fear we have, we can change that image and create a new picture, and that picture creates an emotion. Either we're cowering down behind the podium and everybody's laughing and throwing food at us, or we're standing strong and everybody's cheering us on. We are in control of that picture in our mind, and then that can make a good emotion. And emotions run our actions. Like, we're going to do something because we have a positive emotion, and we're going to resist if we have a negative emotion. So if we can control our thoughts, that control the pictures, that control the emotion, we're more likely to take that aligned action, that positive action, to actually get one step closer to our goal.
Yeah, no, that's great. And do you find yourself using that in your own life, even today?
Oh, yeah. Every
Okay.
day.
Wow.
Every day. I mean, one big thing that I have been going through and have gone through is actually being on camera. I'm really good with like one-on-one with people in the office, and I mean, even on Skype. But I've been doing videos for Facebook, and just saying, hey, here's my thoughts, here's a lesson, here's something that I want to talk about, and not worrying about, oh, does my hair look good? Am I speaking well? And all this stuff. And it's so many things of like, no, get it perfect, get out all the bullet points and get everything, succinct. And then you can do the video. So then I noticed that I just kept hesitating doing that. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to buy a video editing software. I'm going to run a video, and then I'm going to cut it and put it together. And then I'm going to, put it online. And then after that, I'm kind of like, why am I doing all this work? Why don't I just edit and do it, not edit it and put it online and be raw? And the more raw I was, the more feedback I got from people. Like, you're connecting, you're real. I feel you. I understand you. And then that image change of like, I don't have to be perfect to actually take action. I can just do the action, which I've done my entire life. Just like take the action and kind of like figure it out. But, some things have more of a subconscious kind of program saying that, you're not good enough. And, like, from being a kid being teased and you're stupid, you're this and that. So like I have to constantly reprogram those thoughts, take action, and just keep my vibration as high as possible, keep people around me that are going to feed me in that good energy. Like I'm going to feed them. So it's just every day doing that, meditating, thinking on my thoughts, being in nature, grounding in nature, and eating good food, eating live food to feel lively. That's one of my biggest things. Of the more I eat raw foods, it has so many benefits in it that affects my cells, affects my energy, affects my gut health, and all this stuff. So like knowing how the body works, I can take better action of that health. But just for people to understand, if you want to have clear mind, if you want to be vibrant, just eat live foods.
Yes. No. And it's great because I know that you've said before that strengthening the physical, the mental and emotional health, we can use that as a foundation to build relationships, to create those visions of success. And so, you touched on the mental, and the physical is the food. And it's basically just allowing everything within us to be aligned and coherent and as healthy and simplified as possible in order to support and sustain those dreams of ours, right? So, we heard the mental. Is there any other physical or even just emotional things that we can do to fine tune and make sure that we are getting closer to that ideal self?
More self-love, taking care of ourselves, having a routine of self-care. That is really big. I've seen a lot of nurses, hospice nurses, they are so broken physically, mentally, because they're giving so much to other people. They're spending their entire day giving to other people. They're driving and eating McDonald's because they want to get back to this person dying. And it's like, and I tell them, like, you have your own family and friends. If you perish or if you get hurt and injured and you're out for 3 months, then you can't be benefit to anyone. So let's take care of yourself first. Let's take care of your mindset, of your health, to just do something fun for yourself. You know, take a spa bath with like lavender or whatever, just something simple, you know, just really have more self-love and more self-positive talk, because that's going to set the stage for each day to help uplift you to actually be your best and give to other people. It's like that phrase, you say, fill up your cup first, and then once the overflow comes, that's what you give to other people.
I just absolutely love that because, well, I'm a huge morning routine junkie. I tell everyone and anyone, have a morning routine, so at least you start your day. But I want to kind of tie that into what you said about how you thought, oh, if I want to be on video, I have to have the bullet points and I have to have the equipment. And like, you basically complicated it more, which I do all the time. It's like you build it up as a way to kind of just avoid doing it. But it's almost like the same thing. You don't have to go and take a 6-month sabbatical. You can take a bath, or you can actually have 30 minutes for lunch break. Like, make it as simple and small as possible so you can start and then grow from there. And I am grateful for you saying that, because I struggle with that as well. It is so easy for me to just keep working, and it's 4 p.m. and then I haven't eaten anything. And I know that that's not good. And I've seen my energy take dips, and I'm not even saving people's lives. So, you know, I need to, like, anyways, it's just crazy. And it's powerful that you get to help people with that. And so, aside from like the bath or whatever, are there any other things that you recommend people who are just burned out and not taking care of themselves? Anything else that they can do?
So it's about saving mental power, making things easy as possible throughout your day. We are creatures of habit, and if we have healthy habits, we're going to be more productive. So figure out what your habits are on a day-to-day basis, from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, and then analyze them. Like, is this habit good for me? Is this habit bad for me? Am I, you know, staying up till midnight watching Netflix, binging Netflix, and then trying to go to sleep and then not getting enough sleep? Or like for the food thing, every Sunday we go shopping, and I food prep, and I chop up fruits, chop up veggies, and just have them in like little containers, so that if I want a salad, I can easily throw it in, versus like, oh no, now I got to cut this up and throw the peel away. And it's just like, it's so overwhelming. So the easier access I have to stuff, if I'm busy, I can just grab the whole container and just sit and eat raw broccoli from my desk if I need to. But, you know, having those good foods around. Otherwise, I'm going to go eat potato chips. I love potato chips, and I can eat an entire bag of potato chips. But if I don't have those nutritious food, my body gets depleted, my sugar gets depleted, like the glucose. So then I want either like candy or potato chips, and that fat kid comes out, and then I can't stop. So I have to.
Yeah. I don't mean to laugh, but it's just like the image of that process happening in your head it's pretty funny. I might have to get a list from you of actually good snacks to have on hand, because I do the same thing where if I'm not making it easy for myself, I'm grabbing the chips, I'm grabbing the soda, I'm doing all of those things. So if you have something that lists out good, healthy snacks that are just, you can prepare ahead of time, grab them. I would love to share that with my audience as well, because I'm sure they would really love that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just raw foods. And if people want to cook, I can give recipes for like little snacks and stuff. But mainly it's just, the closer it is to the ground, you just pluck it, you chop it up, and that's easy. And then you can kind of mix it together or whatever. But it's just, it's less complicated that way of just having snacks, and then finding what you like, finding what you don't like, because if somebody has a certain palate towards processed foods, it's going to be a hard transition to go straight to fruits and vegetables. So I have certain recipes and certain things to help transition them in the middle, and then eventually go over to that side, because, you know, that's how I was, you know, for the longest time of eating these bad foods. You know, you eat vegetables, it's kind of like, this tastes like crap. I want a cheeseburger. And so, it's a transition. So it's just figuring out, where each person is, but I can give some tips that I do and that I give to other people as well.
Yes, that would be fantastic. And it's kind of like, so when I teach people about planning their weeks out ahead of time, I say it's like being your own assistant. When you schedule out your week and you know what you're trying to hit at the end of the week, and then blocking out the hours, blocking out self-care, blocking out exercise, I just show up on Monday and I just look at my planner and I know what I'm doing and I don't have to think about it. So I save so much time. And so I feel like it's a similar concept where you are your own assistant at that point. You're making the snacks, you're planning ahead of time so that when you show up on Monday, there's no questioning. Like you said, there's no thinking, there's no being caught in, oh, I feel tired, so I'm just going to grab a soda. It's like, oh, I already planned for this moment ahead of time and I can actually make a healthier choice. And so I love that idea of making it as easy for yourself as possible. That's great. Okay, so what books are you reading these days?
So I've been really into Sadhguru. He's a mystic from India, and he's not your typical yogi. He started out as a businessman and ran like big companies and all this stuff, and then he just like kind of got burnt out, and then he sat down to meditate at this Chamundi Hill. It's like some hill like under a tree in India, and then he just kind of went into this other world and then woke up and people were kissing his feet, and he's been sitting there for like 14 days meditating, and then he just became this like spiritual channel to like understand the human body and how it works, and taking the yogic practices of like all the energies, because they really have a breakdown of like how the spiritual body works and the chakras and all that. So it's just kind of taking the practical science and then the spiritual Eastern science together. And he has this program in a book called Inner Engineering, and he has this funny thing where he says, we have an iPhone and we know exactly what all the apps do and how to maneuver it, but we have no idea how to run the eye. Like, we read the manual of the iPhone in our car, but we don't read our own manual of like how we work, and we blindly go through life like, not understanding what's within. And he's really trying to bring a practical way of like looking at what's within and being in connection, and like bringing real yoga to the United States, not the, stretching and all that, but the union of body and mind together. So I've been really reading his book. And then he has a new book that I just got into where he talks about death and talks about the like different energies and how we can, if we can understand death, we can be more at ease with it and not be so forceful of pushing it away, of being fearful of death and, aging and all this Botox and all that stuff. We just don't understand something, so we push away against it. So the more I can understand about that, it's just something that really helps me and helps me translate to other people how to sit with themselves and like really go through the mind and like understand the mind. And then there is the book. I had it upstairs. It's a sleep book by Matthew Walker, and he really goes into the science of sleep and dreams and how the brain functions and holds memory and so forth, and what happens when we don't sleep, when we're sleep deprived, like how the brain works. And just kind of like, it's just so interesting how we take sleep for granted, and we think, if I'm going to be a go-getter, I'm going to go with 4 hours of sleep so I can get more work done. But we don't realize that we're taxing our brain and our mind to be at our highest level of creativity. And if we get that sleep, we can actually maintain those memories. We can really have that overnight clerk, like filing like all of our thoughts and cabinets and stuff like that, so it's not clustered. So that's something that I really have gotten into, and really, really looking into like blue blockers and like understanding blue light and how that affects our circadian rhythms and and all that, and how, even having the fluorescent lights in our house, like, yes, they're energy efficient, but they're not good for our eyes, because our body thinks it's like noon, and then we're trying to go to bed, and then we're not getting good sleep. So it's just, so much going on, and it's just super interesting. And then for my exercise portion, the fitness portion, chi running, it's this couple, they we're teaching Tai Chi, which is all about, core and fluidity. And then they became runners, and they would do marathons and so forth. And they figured out a way to use the Tai Chi in running to work with gravity, to allow our body to kind of float through and have more of that forward running than if, back in the day, it was heel striking was how you run, and you have thick heels. But now we're learning that really has damage to the knees and the pelvic floor and all this. So now it's like the forward running, barefoot running, Vibrams, like all these new things of looking at people in, Aborigines in Africa, like they're running miles a day with no shoes, and they're so fit and agile, and like, so it's like looking at how they move their body, and how can we use our body to float through the air. And it's really helped me in my running, because I couldn't run for a long time because I had like really bad knee pain. I like fell off a diving board when I was younger and like busted my knee. But then I'm like, I'm not going to go to the doctor. I can let it heal. And then, years later, you're like, it gets cold out and your knee gets stiff and all this. So then I started doing that, and then powerlifting and stuff, and just knowing how to use my body within gravity is so much more helpful. Even with sitting at a desk, like understanding how to sit properly at a desk so that we're not getting migraines, we're not getting back pain, and that's something that's helping me get into running more, because I haven't run for a long time. So now I'm kind of getting back into doing my 2 to 3 miles a day, and
2-3 miles a day, like it's nothing. That's so great. Well, I'll definitely make sure we link those books that you mentioned in the show notes. And before we sign off, do you want to let us know where we can find you?
Yeah. So you can find me on Facebook. And then I have a website. It's a michaelacoles.com. You can find me there. And that's pretty much where I reside. I have an Instagram, Michael_Coles, that I post kind of pictures here and there, but mainly on Facebook. I love doing video now since I'm more comfortable doing it.
Good for you. That's great. Okay, we'll make sure to link all of those as well. And thank you for taking the time to chat with us and to share your wisdom. And I'm sure there will be another time that we'll meet on the show in the future. I feel like you're such a wealth of knowledge, and you're so inspiring and such a great example of what you preach. And just thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now it's time for an affirmation. I embrace the nudges from my inner wisdom and allow it to guide every decision I make. If you found today's tips inspiring or thought-provoking, share it right now on social media, and make sure to tag me at Francesca A. Phillips or at Find Your Good Space, and also weigh in the comment section at findyourgoodspace.com. You can find links in the show notes. And if you have a spiritual or mindfulness problem that you want me to unpack on an upcoming The Good Space episode, or an awesome manifesting story you want to share, give my podcast phone line a ring right now at 917-719-0867. Also, don't forget to download my free morning routine guide. It's what helped me reduce my anxiety, increase productivity, and so much more. The link to everything I mentioned is in the show notes. See you soon.